Nobody warned me what would happen. After paying off my high-interest credit card, the day I made my final payment on a credit card that had been charging me 24% interest, I expected fireworks. I expected to feel free. Instead, I sat in my car in a parking lot and felt this weird hollow panic in my chest. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, warned me about what actually happens after you kill the debt. And some of it almost pulled me right back in. So here's what I want to do for you today. I'm going to walk you through the 3 things that blindsided me after I paid off that card. The first one cost me almost $10,000 before I caught it. The second one is the reason most people who pay off debt end up right back where they started within 18 months. And the third one is the thing that quietly turned that paid off card into the first $20,000, then $50,000 I ever actually kept. Stick with me, because if you've got a balance you're fighting right now, this is the stuff I wish somebody had said to my face before I started. Let's start with the money, because that's why you clicked. When I made that last payment, my minimum payment disappeared. That card had been eating around $420 a month, gone. Just like that, $420 a month landed back in my checking account. And here's the thing nobody tells you. That $420 does not feel like a raise. It feels like normal. Your brain adjusts to it in about 2 weeks. You don't see $400 extra sitting there and think wealth. You think, oh, I've got a little breathing room now. And breathing room, my friend, is the single most expensive feeling in personal finance. Because what did I do? I did what everybody does. I upgraded my life. Slightly, nothing crazy, a better phone plan here. Eating out twice a week instead of once. A subscription I forgot about. None of it felt like a decision, and that's the trap. It never feels like a decision. I ran the math about 10 months later, and that breathing room had quietly evaporated almost $10,000 over the next 2 years if I'd kept going. 10 grand. That's the phantom raise. The money the debt was hiding. That shows up the second the debt dies, and then disappears just as fast if you don't grab it on purpose. So here's the move, and write this down. The day your debt is gone, you keep paying it. You keep paying that exact same amount, but now you pay it to yourself. Same $420, same day of the month, automatic transfer, except now it lands in a savings or investment account instead of a bank's pocket. Your lifestyle never notices because it was never used to having that money anyway. That one move is the difference between people who pay off debt and people who actually build something. And I want you to really hear the mechanics of why this works, because it sounds too simple to matter. You already proved you can live without that money. You lived without it for years while the card was eating it. So you're not asking yourself to sacrifice anything new. You're not tightening your belt. You're just refusing to let go of a habit you already built the hard way. Most financial advice asks you to start something. This asks you to not stop something. That is so much easier, and almost nobody does it because the moment the pressure's off, the discipline quietly walks out the door with it. Okay, rehook, because this next one genuinely made me angry. I paid off the card, I did the responsible thing, and then I checked my credit score expecting it to shoot up, and it dropped. It went down. I did everything right and the number got worse. Let me tell you why, because this almost made me do something really dumb. When you pay off, and especially when you close a card, 2 things happen. 1, you lose that available credit, so your utilization ratio, the percentage of your total credit you're using, can actually go up on paper, even though you owe less. And 2, if it was one of your older accounts, closing it shortens your average account age, and age is a big chunk of your score. So there I am, debt-free, feeling punished, and the dumb thing I almost did. I almost opened a new card to fix my utilization. Walk yourself through that for a second. I just clawed my way out of high-interest debt, and the system nudged me to open another line of credit to make a number go up. That is the loop. That is how they get you back. The score dip after payoff isn't a punishment, it's bait. Here's what I actually did instead. I left the old card open, I put one small recurring charge on it, like a $5 subscription, and I set it to auto-pay in full every month. That keeps the account active, keeps my average age climbing, keeps utilization near zero, and I never touch it otherwise. 90 days later, my score wasn't just recovered, it was 30 points higher than before I paid the thing off. Patience beat panic. Almost every time in this game, patience beats panic. Now this one's less about money and more about your head, but it might be the most important thing I say today, so stay with me. For years, I had an identity. I was the guy digging out. Every spare dollar had a job, kill the debt. Every decision ran through one filter. It was stressful, but it was simple. I knew exactly who I was and what I was doing. Then, the debt died. And I was standing in this strange open field with no enemy to fight. And what nobody warned me about is that a goal. That big leaves a hole when it's gone. I felt restless. I felt like I should be doing something. But there was nothing to attack. And restless people with extra cash flow do dangerous things. That's when you deserve the vacation you put on a card. That's when you earned the upgrade. The debt was gone, but the habits that built the debt, those were still sitting right there, fully intact, just waiting for a new balance to feed on. This is why most people who pay off debt are back in it within 18 months. It is not a math problem. They did the math. They paid it off. It's an identity problem. They never stopped being the person who carries a balance. They just had a brief intermission. So I had to consciously pick a new identity. I stopped being the guy paying off debt. And I became the guy who builds. Same energy, same monthly discipline pointed at a new target. Instead of a payoff balance going down, I had an investment balance going up. And honestly, watching a number climb is 1,000 times more addictive than watching one shrink. I just had to survive the gap in between without letting my old self drive. Quick rehook, because this one nobody likes to say out loud. The hardest part of staying out of debt isn't the bank, it's the people around you. Here's what happened to me. The same month I told a couple of friends I'd finally paid off my card, the invitations got bigger, the group trip, the nicer restaurant, the come on, you can afford it now, and they meant it kindly, they were happy for me. But every single one of those was a small vote to put me right back where I started. Not because anybody was malicious, because your spending naturally drifts up to match the people you spend the most time with. That's not a character flaw, that's gravity. And the trap is that the moment you pay off debt, you feel like you finally have permission to say yes. You spent so long saying no to everything that yes feels like the reward. So you say yes to the trip, yes to the dinner, yes to the upgrade, and 3 months later you're carrying a balance again and you genuinely cannot point to the moment it happened. What worked for me wasn't cutting people off. It was getting honest. I started saying, I'm building something right now, so I'm out on this one, but I'm in for the cheap version. And here's the part that surprised me. The good ones respected it. Some of them even asked how I did it. Your real circle doesn't need you broke to feel comfortable around you. The ones who do, that tells you something too. Rehook. Let's talk about the test, because life will test you almost immediately. It's almost funny how fast. About 2 months after I paid off that card, my car needed $1,100 of work. Of course it did. The universe waits until you're vulnerable. And the old me, the me from 3 months earlier, would have shrugged and put it on the card. That's what the card was for. Emergencies, right? But the card was paid off, and putting $1,100 back on it at 24% would have undone months of work in one afternoon at the mechanic. And this is the moment I realized why a paid-off card is so dangerous. It's not a clean slate, it's a loaded weapon. It's the easiest, most frictionless way back into exactly the hole you just climbed out of, and it's sitting right there in your wallet being polite about it. What saved me was that little phantom raise account I told you about in point 1. 2 months of paying myself $400 meant I had just enough to cover that repair in cash. It wasn't comfortable. It nearly emptied the account. But I paid the mechanic, I drove home, and the balance on that card stayed at 0. And that was the first time in my adult life that an emergency did not turn into debt. That feeling, that's the whole game. That's what we're actually building toward. Not being rich, just being the kind of person an emergency can't knock over. Alright, this is the one that changes the size of the numbers, so lean in. Up to now, everything I've described is defense. Keep the money, protect the score, survive the gap, handle the emergency, but defense doesn't make you wealthy. Defense just stops you from bleeding. So let me tell you what happened when I finally flipped the switch from defense to offense. That same $420 a month, the phantom raise, I started actually investing it. Not savings, investing. Broad, boring, low-cost index funds, nothing clever, nothing you need a guy for. And here's the part that genuinely shocked me because I'd never let myself believe it before. $420 a month invested at a reasonable long-term return crosses $20,000 in about 3.5 years. Keep going and it crosses $50,000 somewhere around year 8. And then the thing accelerates because the growth starts earning its own growth, and by the time you're staring down the road 20 years, that same monthly payment you use to send a credit card company is worth several $100,000. Let that land. The exact dollar amount that was draining out of your life as interest is the same dollar amount that can compound into a fortune. Same money, same effort. The only thing that changed was the direction it was pointing. The debt was never really a money problem. It was a direction problem. You were paying that compounding to somebody else. The entire move and the whole thing I'm describing today is just turning the compounding around so it points at you. Rehook, and this is the most practical thing I'll say all video, so if you only do one thing, do this. Take willpower out of the equation entirely. Because willpower is a liar. It shows up strong on the 1st of the month, and it's nowhere to be found by the 20th. Here's the mistake I made early. I told myself I'd invest whatever's left over at the end of the month. You know how much was left over at the end of the month? Nothing. Every time. There is never anything left over because spending expands to eat whatever's sitting in your checking account. That's just how it works. So, I'll save what's left is the same as saying, I'll save nothing. You just feel more responsible while you do it. The fix is stupidly simple, and it changed everything. I set the transfer to fire automatically the day after I get paid. Before rent, before groceries, before I've even looked at the balance. That phantom raise money leaves my checking account before my brain ever gets a vote. I pay my future self first, like a bill that isn't optional, and then I live on what's left, which, surprise, is exactly how I lived when the debt was eating that money anyway. When the money moves on its own, you can't talk yourself out of it on a bad day. You can't skip just this once. The discipline isn't something you summon every month. You set it up one time, and then the system carries it for you. Motivated people lose to automated people every single time. Be the automated one. Now look, if you've made it this far, you're not a casual viewer. You're somebody who's actually trying to fix this, and I respect that more than I can say. So do me one favor. Hit subscribe. That's it. I put out videos breaking down exactly this stuff. The real mechanics nobody explains, in plain language with no jargon and nothing to sell you. If even one thing today made the picture clearer, subscribing makes sure the next one finds you. And drop a comment with the balance you're fighting right now or the one you just killed. I read them, and there is something genuinely powerful about saying the number out loud. Okay, let's bring it home. Rehook, last big one. If I could drive back to that parking lot, sit down next to the version of me having a quiet panic attack over being debt-free, here's exactly what I'd say. I'd tell him the panic is normal, and the panic is information. That hollow feeling wasn't something being wrong. It was the silence of a fight you finally won, and you just weren't used to the quiet yet. I'd tell him the freedom isn't the payoff. The payoff is just the entry ticket. Freedom is what you build in the years after, with the money the debt used to hide. And I'd tell him the most expensive words in the English language are, I'll start once I've paid this off. Because once I've paid this off arrives, and you are not magically a different person when it does. You are exactly who you trained yourself to be on the way there. So you don't wait for the finish line to become the person who builds wealth. You become that person now, while you're still fighting. So that the day the debt dies, you don't fall into the gap. You just change which direction the money flows and keep right on walking. That's the whole secret. There's no trick. The same discipline that kills a balance builds a fortune. It's the same muscle. Most people just put it down the second the debt is gone, and then they wonder why they end up back at the start. You wouldn't train for a year to run a marathon and then stop walking entirely the day after you cross the line. But that is exactly what we do with money, over and over, and then we call it bad luck. It was never luck. It was the muscle we let go soft the moment nobody was watching. So that's it. That's what nobody warned me about, the phantom raise that vanishes if you don't grab it. The credit score dip that's secretly bait to pull you back in. The identity gap that swallows people whole. The emergency that tests you before you're ready. And the compounding switch that turns the exact same monthly payment from a slow leak into a fortune. If you take one thing from all of this, take this. Paying off the card is not the end of the story. It's chapter 1. What you do in the 90 days after is what decides whether you're free or whether you just bought yourself a short break before round 2. I made almost every mistake in this video before I figured it out, so you don't have to. If it helped, the next one will help more. I'll link it right up here. It's the exact step-by-step of where I move that money and why. Go watch that one next, and I'll see you in it.